Okay, so we are starting a new series today, and this has been, I mentioned it earlier in the year. I get the downloads, and I get like we're gonna work with, but then I get the dates as we go on. I feel into it, and it's like, no, this one needs to go here, and when it happens, I realize, oh, actually, it's for the solstice. That's why she's coming through. So everything's always so divine and so beautiful. We've got the emerald tablets at some point later in the year, opening up the codes for the dragon heart and the emerald heart. But this series right now with Mary Magdalene is really, really important because we are at this stage of moving into a new world and a new vibration. And, we are moving into a higher form of love. And this is where Mary Magdalene is very present at this time to help us move into our sacred hearts. And this year, she always comes around the solstice where she activates the dragon codes within us. And the dragon codes are the sacred heart, it's the emerald heart, the heart of one love, that she's bringing in the codes to open our hearts wider to love so we can experience pure love, true love, authentic love, a higher level of love. So we're now moving away from the 3D love, which is just so chaotic and confusing. The imbalanced relationships, the narcissist and the empath dynamic, the overgiving and the self-sacrificing martyr, and then the ego and the egotistical, the dynamic, the avoidant attachment style, and then the anxious attachment style. So we've experienced so much in 3D, where the love bombing and then ghosting, all of that, not communicating, immature in our communication, where we've had trauma from childhood. And so we don't know how to be vulnerable. We don't know how to open up our emotions and express. So no communication, then misunderstandings, and then you get the toxic dynamics and the deception and the betrayal and the neglect and the abandonment. Abandonment is a huge one, collective wound that we're healing through this time. Abandonment. And if you imagine a child who has been loved unconditionally by a parent who is just not wounded, just imagine that child, how they grow up to flourish in confidence and courage and strength and awareness and self-respect, and also self-worth. I mean, having all of those attributes, you step into the world a very strong person. I mean, I see our generation, my kids, they're so strong, and because I stayed home with them and I looked after them and cared for them, but they're so strong and they don't have these issues that we had, So when we have that unconditional love, we heal, we open, we flourish, we feel safe to be ourselves and authentically who we are. It's all the wounding in the 3D that we're now clearing so that we can move into these higher forms of love and experience that true loving connection. And we're not playing out these dynamics anymore. Like, we're done with this. We are done with this as a collective, which is why we are choosing to ascend now, because we're done with it. We're moving into 1,000 years of peace now, and out of conflict and chaos and confusion and disempowerment and entrapment and slavery. We're moving away from that. We're moving into much higher frequencies. And I felt we shifted, we shifted into a new vibration. We shifted into the new earth vibrations. I felt it when I went to Peru. That are coming in, the types of relationships that are coming in, where you can be vulnerable, you can trust, you can open your heart, you can be held, and you can be seen for who you are. And there's no games, there's no manipulation, it's just harmony. And trust, and it's beautiful. And this is where we want to get to, because then our heart stays open. We can go to that next level and we can experience the next level of love instead of shutting down, getting wounded, healing our heart, then trying to climb back up and shutting our heart again, and going through the constant dynamics that we play to experience love. So, we all come to learn very different things here on earth. We've come to learn different things, different dynamics, and, move through our own processes and our own karma and dysfunctional families and all of that. But Mary Magdalene, this year is that year of empowerment where we're taking back our power. We're reclaiming our sovereignty. We're moving into true love, unconditional love. And, you've had to learn a lot about boundaries, boundary setting, where 3D, you can't just open your heart and give your love away. You can't. And I've learned that, and it's been a very painful lesson because you get hurt. You have to have boundaries. You have to have balance. You give, you don't overgive, and and then you end up depleted and on the floor. We've experienced loss and grief that has made our heart hurt, and betrayal that hurts our heart so deeply. So these wounds we have been healing. And we have to look after ourselves in 3D. You have to learn to love yourself, to care for yourself, to respect your boundaries, to fulfill your own needs as well as helping others, not you on the floor, helping others. You're not here to self-sacrifice anymore. You're here to give in balance. And this is that figure eight. And this is that year of figure eight, giving and receiving. So this year you've been taking back your energy, you've been looking at your dynamics. As we move into these higher frequencies, what it will allow you to do, it will allow you to look from your sacred heart, your emerald heart, to see situations in your life and understand the dynamics, see the wounding of the other person as well and where they were at, their characteristics, their personality traits, what they were playing out, how they were behaving, why they were behaving from that space. And it will allow you to have a higher perspective, which will help you to come back to neutrality and peace within yourself. And when you are in that neutral space, you are in your own balance. And when you are in your own balance, you can then move into the higher vibrations and move into your higher heart and your higher self because you are in neutral state. So it doesn't matter if the other person has processed their lesson or not. It's about you. It's about honoring yourself, seeing the situation, not now getting caught up in the unforgiving thoughts and the blame, but we have played the roles. We've also chosen to be the victim and the perpetrator. We've played out the dynamics, we've played out our karma. But when that balance sheet is balanced and clear, then we move on. But when we have found balance, we don't want to then keep going back into the story and replaying it because that's very easy to do, where you can be the victim again and you can feel the hurt. You can go back into the wound. And the moment we do that, we have to stop ourselves and say, no, I'm not going to go back into the story. And that played out. I did learn my lesson. I did understand what I had to experience, but now I'm choosing to vibrate in a higher space. I'm choosing to vibrate in 5D love. I'm choosing to draw in and be a magnet for love, to draw in more love, to draw in authentic connections and soul family that actually see me, that love me. And, maybe you were in spaces where your light was not respected, where it wasn't seen, where you did not fit, and you couldn't express yourself and you couldn't be who you truly are. And you couldn't open your wings, or maybe you felt responsible for everyone else's issues, and their emotions, and you carried the weight of the world and the weight of everyone's issues and their emotions. And now we're like, no, I'm not taking accountability for your emotions. They're your emotions and you have to deal with them. And it's not my responsibility to carry them for you. What that does, it lightens our load. It allows us to then focus on ourselves, not from a selfish space, but from a place of just accountability that this is my stuff and that's yours. This is mine, that's yours. You work on yours, I'll work on mine. When you are in a balanced space, you meet me in this space. So we're having to create really firm, healthy boundaries if we want to experience happy, healthy relationships now and move towards joy and playful, childlike love and fun and purity. And it exists. I've experienced it. I experienced it in Peru. It's pure and it's beautiful and it exists. And this is the next level. And it's actually very beautiful and exciting because that's where we're moving into. So, we're opening up these communities of soul family. We're meeting lovely connections and beautiful people. And we're moving into this now higher heart and higher space of love, which is why Mary Magdalene is coming through to help us to move into our higher heart. So, during the solstice, the heart chakra is activated because this is the year of the dragon. And this is the year where your dragon inside of you is being called, your courageous heart is being called to love, unconditionally and step into your higher heart, no longer the wounded heart, but now this higher self, this higher being that you are, you're stepping into your 5D heart and your higher heart. And this is where we're going to be giving you lots of activations in these 4 sessions. We're going to be taking you on journeys through your sacred heart so that you can see beyond any wounding that you may have. You'll be able to see maybe dynamics between situations and close that door and let it go. If you have heart wounds where you're still, experiencing grief, like I had a client the other day and she lost her father 2 years ago. She never grieved. She never grieved the loss. And so she's having all these issues with her body. Her skin's flaring up. She's getting acne. She gets constipation. And it's just holding on to old emotions, and she's never processed her grief. You have to process the emotions. So sometimes they sit in our heart and we put a barrier where it's a coping mechanism where we can't deal with our emotions, but we act like we're good. But under the surface, they're sitting there and they're raging and they need to come out. So our emotions need expression. They need to be heard, held, released, so that we can let go of the wound, like the abscess. You have to let go of the pus for it to dry out and heal. So we are doing that right now. We are healing. And this last energy frequency that we had, this spike, I felt a lot of collective healing on sadness. Like I felt sadness leaving the field, deep sadness, like ancestral sadness from the bottom coming up to be released. So many souls, I feel, have been experiencing this, letting it go. And when you feel these emotions, just let them wash through you, just don't judge yourself. Don't feel like, well, where's this coming from? Just let it move through you. Just know that you're letting go. It could be anything, it could come from your childhood, from your parents, from your ancestors, from the collective field. You are just a channel to release that energy. So just let it go. But you must use your tools through this time to recalibrate, come back into neutrality, find your balance, find your still point, harmonize your frequency, because then you are in your creative, divine masculine, divine feminine, and you can keep stepping into these new vibrations. Okay, so this is a really, really pivotal, important time of mastery, the mastery of ourselves and our container and our next level of our ascension that we are now calling in to experience here on earth. So, a higher being, ascended being in a physical body, okay, which means we have to open the heart. If we want to experience our next level, we have to open our heart to love. We have to, because your wisdom and all that you are is sitting in your heart. It's everything. Love is everything. Opens the door to the highest expression of who we are. So I'm going to share the cards in a minute. And there was a little boundary, feels like a byproduct of healing. Boundaries is a big one, Ria. We've had to learn that where we've had no boundaries, and people have walked all over, all over us. So boundary setting has been so important. I feel the last 2 years, boundary setting has been so strong. But yeah, you have to learn. Is it like a byproduct of healing? I mean, the journey to healing, understanding that you don't have boundaries is part of the healing. When you realize, it's the realization that, oh my God, I've just let people walk all over me and I never had any boundaries. I never had any self-respect, and I never put a stop to this. I allowed it. I allowed people to walk all over me. So that is part of the healing, to that realization. And, that is important.